everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well. So I haven't been live for a few days, but I thought I'd do this one live because I think I've created more questions than I've answered. So if you saw yesterday's video, I kind of impromptu thought, whilst I was recording, it just popped into my head, why don't I do an experiment? I've got 3 iPhones. I've got an iPhone 12, which is the one that I regularly use. I've got an iPhone XR, which is basically like the iPhone 12, but just an older model. And I've got an iPhone 6S. And I haven't used the iPhone 6S for several years, but I still have it and it still works. It was the phone that I had when I first started YouTube right back in 2018. Michelle Walks, my other channel, that was a completely different channel then, and I started it in 2018. And I used to record on an iPhone 6S, and it was a lovely little phone, and it's still my all-time favorite iPhone, simply because it's dead slim, and you can just slip it in your pocket, and it stays there, and it's just, I love it. But I moved on. But the iPhone 6S is the model that Libby had. So I thought, why not track a walk with all 3 iPhones and see what happens? So I did the experiment this morning, and I'm going to talk through the results. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to say a few hellos first and answer a few questions if there are any. Hello, Linda, Australia. Who needs sleep? I guess it's like the middle of the night for those down under. It's just gone 2 p.m. here. Good morning, Emma. No, there wasn't 900 plus meters missing. It's 294 meters. But it's not the amount of meters that are missing, really. It's the timing of them that absolutely breaks the timeline. It's not the amount of meters, it's the timing of those meters that breaks the timeline. Hello, CW. Hello. Delivery of hay. Well, you can keep it over there because I'm allergic to hay. Hello, Jackie. And Mr. Tomato Head. Unless you're using the step tracking app as it appeared in 2017, then you're just adding another variable. Well, my iPhone 6S, which I used when I first started YouTube, the health app on that will be the very same health app. It's the same model of phone, and it will be exactly the same iteration of the Apple Health app that Libby had. So, tick. I've done that one. Aussie TV member for 23 months, one more month, and you'll get your OG badge. But you're a replay crew. But hello to all the replay crew. Hello, Mimi. Hello, Laura, Lenny. There's a video of the search that day. I noticed they cut it out at 18:14. I don't know. I've seen the drone helicopter footage from that. Well, it was actually from the 14th. So it was I don't know what time it was at, though. I don't know whether that's what you're talking about. Hello, Jill and Mike. Yeah, hear from the jurors. Yeah, we want to all hear from the jurors, don't we? They're entitled to speak if they want to. They're not part of the gag order. The gag order is the attorneys and court staff and the families. The jurors are not part of the gag order, so the jurors can speak anytime they like. Everyone else is still gagged until Rick's sentencing, which is the 20th of December. After which time, everybody can speak. Judge Gull will have absolutely no jurisdiction at all to maintain that gag order. She might try, She might try. We'll see how it goes. Hello, Smarty. M. Osland. Krista, thank you so much for the $49.99. You are so generous. So generous. It is a punch to the gut. Absolutely. Totally. I agree with you. Hello, Broken Goth Doll. And who else have we got? Who else? Angie Baby. Light the Way. Hello to you. Hello to everybody. Lindsay. Down Under with Love. Hello. Good evening to you. Marianne. All right, I'm going to stop. So, this is what I did today. So I'm going to have to share my whole screen, which I never like doing. But it's the only way I can do it to show you both PowerPoint and Google Earth. So I can still see chat though, even though this is now filling my entire screen. I can still see chat on my other screen. So, okay. Keep doing my testing. I will. I absolutely will. Can't wait for the gag order. I know. There's only so long the secrecy in this case can be kept up. So this is the problem. Now, I've talked about this many times now. Right, I've taught this to death. But I need to introduce this just for people who are not absolutely clear what on earth is going on. I will introduce this. So these meters here that you can see, so 700 meters, 414 meters, and 50 meters, and the times down the bottom here. These were what was stated at the trial by Chris Cecil, who was the state's phone expert. When I say expert, he probably wasn't that good of an expert. But anyway, that was the extraction of Libby's phone. These times came from the Apple Health app. Libby had an iPhone 6S, which is a great little phone in its day. As I said, it's my favorite all-time iPhone. It's a great little phone. Still is a great little phone. But you can't update anything on it now because the operating system's too old. So anyway, so the extraction of the Apple Health data on her phone revealed these times and how far the phone had traveled within these times. So this breaks the timeline. This breaks the timeline of the state's theory based on Rick's confession. The confession that he gave on May the 3rd to Dr. Waller. And it's the most detailed confession. Like the 61 confessions that Rick made, the majority of them are just things like, I did it. I want to confess. I did it. I killed Abby and Libby. And there's no details at all. He said things that weren't included in the trial. Some of the confessions that he gave weren't told to the jury. Things like he shot the girls in the back and he buried them in a shallow grave after molesting them. Those things didn't happen. But the jury didn't hear about that. He also claims to have molested his sister. That was untrue. Claimed to have molested his daughter. That was untrue. Both testified. That was untrue. He said he molested Chris and Kevin. Now, we've no idea who those people are, but no one's ever come forward to say Rick Allen molested them at some time in the past. So we've got to also assume that those are untrue as well. So the only confession really that holds any weight is the one that the state ran with for their theory. And that was the one he gave to Monica Waller in May, whilst he was psychotic. May was his worst month for the psychosis. And he said that he followed the girls. He wanted to molest the girls or SA the girls. And he messed with his gun, and that's how the unspent round fell out. Well, we know that the unspent round wasn't at the south side of the bridge where the BG video was filmed. We know that the unspent round was at the crime scene. So that aspect, actually, I'll get the confession up. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. So he told her, I messed with the gun. I guess that's when the bullet fell out. And that's when I ordered the girls down the hill. All right, so they're at the south side of the bridge. He orders them down the hill about 10 feet to the private drive, which goes to the Webber's house. So orders them down the hill, orders them down 10 feet to the private drive. That makes sense. You know, some of this does make sense. This is why it has some weight to it. And perhaps why the jury have given this maybe undue weight. But if you unpick it line by line, doesn't make sense, doesn't work. It doesn't work with the data that we have. And this is what I'm trying to get across to people. And there are a few people listening now. There are a few people listening, which is good. So he also then said he heard a van, and that was Brad Webber coming home. Well, Brad Webber in 2017 said that he only got home at 3:30, not 2:30. We know his clock out time from the Subaru plant at Lafayette, which was 31 minutes from his house to the Subaru plant by Google Maps. But the testimony he gave said he could do it in 20 to 25 minutes. So maybe if he floored it, maybe he could definitely do it in 25 if he floored it, you know, with the wind in the right direction and everything. You know, no traffic on the road or whatever. So that would have getting home 2:27. If it's 25 minutes after 2:02, that's 2:27. So 2:27 to 2:30 is what they testified to at the trial. So Rick's there, gonna rape the girls, messing about with his gun, and that's 2:27. Brad Webber comes home. Now, remember that 2:14 is the Bridge Guy video. So the Bridge Guy video, which I'm not even sure I believe anymore, can there be an appeal? Yes. There can be an appeal. How successful it will be is anyone's guess. The vast majority of appeals don't get anywhere. But yes, there's various ways you can appeal. Okay, so 2:14 is the Bridge Guy video. Down the hill is 2:14. So he's got them, according to the state's theory, he's got them to as far as the private drive down the hill by 2:27. So that's what? 2:14, 2:27, 13 minutes. So he messes about on the south side of the bridge for 13 minutes before Brad Webber comes home. Okay? It's not, is it 13 minutes? Yeah, whatever. But enough time to avoid them and run off, if that's what he was planning on doing. But no. He was scared by Brad Webber's van coming home. So he then forced the girls down the hill. So from the private drive, you can go down a hill, which is quite a few feet, right? It's quite steep. And then if you follow the path of least resistance, you can go over the creek and at the shallow part, and you can go up the hill on the other side at the shallow part. And that's where the clothes are found. So there's some elements to this that do absolutely make sense. The problem is the timeline. The problem's the timeline. Okay. So that's the private drive. And we're going to go now to the timings. I need to reorder this. I had this in a certain order for a live stream, but I need to reorder it. There we go. This one. All right. So again, this is from the Apple Health app, and this is how this doesn't make sense. So up to 2:08, according to Libby's Apple Health app, the girls had walked, or at least Libby's phone had walked approximately 700 meters. That makes sense based on where they got to at 2:08. And at 2:08, that was just after they'd taken, or Libby had taken the photo of Abby, which, again, I'm not even sure that should be factored in, because that was not found on Libby's phone. You all know the one, the picture of Abby on the bridge, and it's not quite halfway along the bridge. So I'd say it's probably about a third of the way across the bridge where Abby's standing, and then Libby's a little bit further along, and she takes a photo of Abby at 2:07. So to 2:08, they've walked 700 meters, which will take you from the trailhead at Mia's farm to almost, I've measured it to halfway across the bridge, but the perhaps not quite halfway across the bridge. This is the thing that breaks the timeline, though. That makes sense. This does not. 414 meters between 2:08 and 2:18. Doesn't make sense. Because remember, at 2:18, they're still on the south side of the bridge. They're still on the south side of the bridge waiting for Brad Webber to come home. Brad Webber doesn't get home until 2:27, according to the testimony given at trial. But no, they're still on the south side of the bridge. So 2:08 to 2:14. 2:14, they've walked approximately 120 meters across the bridge to the south side. So 2:14, we know they're at the south side of the bridge because of the BG video, which, again, I'm not even sure I believe, but we're just going, this is the state's theory. So 2:14 to 2:18, we've got 294 meters. This is based on the data from Libby's phone that don't make sense. How can you be planning to R the girls? You've gone down 10 foot onto the private drive, and then you're going to R the girls, but you've walked 294 meters in those minutes. And then you don't move for 7 minutes. Between 2:18 and 2:25, you don't move. So you've walked 294 meters, then you don't move for 7 minutes. During this time, just after this time, Brad Webber gets home. So you might think, well, yeah, he's trying to R the girls here. And then he runs and he takes the girls over the other side of the creek to kill them. But no, because you've only got 50 meters to play with, because you've used your 294 meters already that could have taken you across the creek, but you've used it already. Anyway, doesn't make sense. So we now go to, that's my alternate theory that I've talked about. But this is my experiment from this morning. So like I said, I think I've introduced Mr. Toretto. I'm going to do all of the measurements again in this live stream. I'm going to do them all again. And I'm going to do it from a third of the way across the bridge. Goal is corrupt. Defence fails. Yeah, the defence, I mean, look, they've been outstanding. You know, they've worked so hard. However, I think at the very final hurdle, I think they did make a huge mistake. And I say that with all the love and respect in the world. They did make a mistake because they could have really attacked this timeline. I know that they would have been objected against. It would have been objection, calls for speculation. So they may not have even got to present the whole problems with the timeline to the jury without Nick McClellan jumping in and objecting and then goals sustaining. So we don't know. We don't know. All right, so these are the phones. These were this morning. These are my phones. So this is the iPhone 6S here. This is the iPhone XR. And then you can see me taking this photo with my iPhone 12. All right, so those are my 3 phones that I used. All right, so we went for a walk. And Cassie and Noodle are absolutely exhausted because they were hunting deer this morning. There was a deer in a location. I've never seen a deer before. Never seen a deer near the secret woods. There was a deer in the secret woods this morning. So they ran away. Cassie comes back because she's got a good recall. Noodle didn't. Noodle takes ages to come back. Noodle's a work in progress. So I put Noodle on his lead and then I let Cassie go. Again, she started the track from the beginning. And then I saw the deer run off and then she tracked this deer. And then I called her back. I thought, oh, she's gonna find it. So I called her back. There's no way that she could hurt a deer. She's too small. She's not a deer hound. We need a hound to go hunting deer. Not that I want to kill them, but they're absolutely exhausted. They are just whacked. They are so whacked. It blew their brains because we don't normally see deer around here. The whole country's overrun with them, but you don't normally see them in the secret woods because it's dead close to houses and like a construction site, and it's just really noisy. Anyway, all right. So just to prove to you that I had absolutely no data at all on my phones, so I didn't move. I turned all the phones on last night, and then I took a screenshot of them before I even took one step with them. All right, so there's my iPhone 12, no data for today. You can see 907. And then no data for this one, 909. I don't know why it took me 2 minutes to fiddle and faff, but... And then the iPhone 6 doesn't have a SIM card in it. So... so I could take a screenshot, but I can't then transfer it to my laptop. So I had to take a photo of the screenshot. So anyway, you can see that was, I think that says 908. All right, so no data on any of them, no steps, no distance, nothing. All right, so then we went for a walk. I put my Strava on. So Strava, I think, has created some additional problems. But the reason why I wanted an independent app to also test the distance. So I use Strava. Strava uses GPS, and I've always found Strava to be pretty accurate. Like, I've done tests with Strava in the past, and I've walked round a tree, like literally just round and round and round a tree, and Strava can actually track me going round a tree. Would breaking down this timeline be considered new evidence? Probably not, no, because it was available at the trial. So anything that was available at the trial wouldn't be considered new evidence. I don't think so anyway. I don't think so anyway. I'm not a lawyer, so ask it to a lawyer. In my opinion, I don't think it would be. I think the argument would be, well, that timeline was known at the trial. That timeline was discussed at the trial. So, all right. So then we went for a walk. I turned my Strava on. I didn't take a screenshot of the Strava saying 0000, but I should have done, but I didn't. So we went for a walk, and that was my walk. So we was out there just under 50 minutes, and we walked 1.99 kilometers. So I had to then transfer that to miles. There must be a way to make Strava just recording miles, but I don't use Strava very often. So anyway, so 1.99 kilometers is 1.23659 miles. So I rounded that up to 1.24 miles. All right. Jen, thank you for gifting a membership. You are so kind. And Peaceful Warrior. you have been the winner. Congratulations. Welcome. You get a monthly membership courtesy of Jen. Thank you. All right, so 1.24 miles. So you can see this is my Strava map. I've cut off the bit going home just in case anybody can work out where I live. So we came in here, we walked along here, we went down here, we went up this hill, we walked along here, I went round here twice, around this area twice. Can you see all this field here? There's an entire field that you can't get in. It's just completely overgrown with brambles. You can't go in that field at all now. And then I went through the secret woods, and then I went up the hill, so up the steep side of the hill. Then I went along here, down here, up here, down here, and then back home via a different gate. So the overall walk was 1.24 miles. So yes, I didn't walk very fast. So we're out there nearly 50 minutes. But, you know, I'm walking through woods, I'm messing with the dogs, I'm just doing stuff, okay? I'm doing stuff while I'm out there. All right, so that's according to Strava. Is Strava accurate, I hear you say? Well, Strava's only as accurate as GPS is. But it does tend to be pretty sharp. I mean, it's even got this little jagged bit here. Now, you can't zoom in any more than this, but what happened here is go through the gate there, and then Cassie did a poo right on the path there. So I picked that up and put that in the bin, and then walked a little way. Noodle did a poo, so I had to pick that up, and then I walked there and put that in the bin. So I can even pick out what that little jagged bit is. So it's pretty accurate. But it's only as accurate as GPS. So I guess if you're in an area where GPS ain't very good, then Strava ain't going to be very good either. All right. So that was like my control condition, I guess. So I've measured everything against the findings in Strava. Okay. Who came first? So remember, we've got 3 iPhones. We've got the iPhone 6S, which is the oldest one. We've got the iPhone XR, which came out at the end of 2018, but I didn't get it for about a year after. I was using my iPhone 6 because I loved it, and I didn't upgrade at all until maybe probably, I don't know, end of 2019. I don't even know. Sometime in 2019, I got my iPhone XR. And then in 2021, I got my iPhone 12, and I've had the iPhone 12 ever since. So I haven't bothered upgrading to, what is it, iPhone 15 now, I think. I'm still on iPhone 12 because it works perfectly well. I don't need to buy a new phone unless I need a new phone. So who do you think came for? Oh, there's iPhone 16 now, is there? Well, you see, I'm so far behind. I'm so far behind. All right, so which model of iPhone do you think most accurately matched the Strava result? Well, I'll tell you. It's the iPhone 12. So the most recent model was the closest to this figure. We're measuring everything against this figure. And, oops, went the wrong way. Sorry, guys. Oops, still going the wrong way. iPhone 12, and it got it almost 1.3. So this is 1.24, and this was 1.3. Now, one of the downsides of the Apple Health app is that you can't drill into the decimal places. So was this 0.34? Was this 0. I assume if it's 0.35 or higher, it will round it up because it only does it to one decimal place. So it's not as precise as Strava, which does it to more than one decimal place. So that was pretty close. And it was 3,265 steps. So that was pretty close. So which came second, do you think? Which came second? Oh, and I need to add that I put all the phones all next to each other. Like I laid them all down at the bottom of my bag. And my bag is a shoulder bag and it hangs down to around like my pelvic bone. So the most accurate results for the Apple Health app are when the phone is actually on your person. So it's like in a pocket, like your pants pocket. But I didn't have a pocket that would fit all 3 iPhones in. So I had them all at the bottom of my bag. So I should have said that at the beginning. So they were all dead close to each other. Second, iPhone 6S came second. So the old phone, the same model as Libby's, came second. It was pretty damn close though. So it recorded 1.4 miles. So again, I do not know whether that's 0.4 miles exactly, or 0.41 miles, or 1.42 miles, because it only does it for 1 decimal place. But it recorded less steps. So obviously this is an older model, an older version of the Apple Health app. So compare that. This is the iPhone 12. So it's recorded less steps, but slightly more distance, which I thought was really interesting. Now, obviously, as each version progresses, Apple say that things have got more and more accurate. So was the iPhone 6S underrepresenting steps? Or was it, I mean, it's weird because it underrepresented steps like based on the iPhone 12, but it slightly overrepresented the distance. I thought that was really interesting. And then at a really sorry third came the iPhone XR. And I don't know what happened here. These are the results. It reported 1.9 miles. I don't know how it managed to record 1.9 miles. I'm wondering whether it was trying to pull some data from the iPhone 12 at the same time, because the iPhone XR and the iPhone 12 are synced. Like I've got my Apple ID in both of them, like the iCloud is connected to both of them. So I'm wondering whether this iPhone XR was trying to drag some data in from the iPhone 12, because I can't see any other reason why it was so wildly off. Because the steps are virtually the same. Again, this is a comparison with the iPhone 12. And the steps are virtually the same. Like it's only recorded, 14 more steps than the iPhone 12. But yeah, it's recorded 0.6 miles more. Like over half a mile more. So I think there's something going on here with this iPhone XR. I think it's trying to drag data from the iPhone 12. So we've excluded that. We don't need the iPhone XR anyway, because Libby didn't have an iPhone XR. What we're really interested in is the iPhone 6S, because that's the very model that Libby had. It will be the same version of the Apple Health app. So we could argue that any inaccuracies based on my findings could also be relevant to Libby's. Potentially. All right. So the inaccuracy of this experiment relating to the iPhone 6S. So I don't know what to think about the steps. I don't know what to think about the steps because it recorded less steps than the iPhone 12. But I did the comparison of distance with Strava, right, which is independent of iPhone. So I did the estimation based on 1.24 miles. So it overestimated the distance by 0.16 miles, which is almost 13%. So this experiment this morning, now bear in mind, this was just one experiment. What you'd have to do really to get an accurate gauge is do this numerous times and then collate all the findings. This is just a one-off. All right. So this is an extrapolation to Libby's form based on just one experiment. So bear that in mind. But based on the findings this morning, it's an overestimation of 0.16 miles compared with Strava. So it's 13% more. It's recorded 13% more distance than Strava did. Okay. So now we can extrapolate that to the data in Libby's form. Now, bear in mind, this was just one experiment. Bear in mind, even though it's the same model of form, it's the same version of the Apple Health app that Libby would have had, but I had it in a bag. So I think what I should have done is put the iPhone 6S in my pocket, like wear pants with a pocket and put it in my pocket. I should have done that. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll just keep walking about with the iPhone 6S and then, do an overall results. But this is just based on a 50-minute walk from this morning. So these are the figures that were found on Libby's form. So the ones in black are the ones that were testified to at trial. So 700 meters, 414 meters, then nothing, no movement at all for these 7 minutes. And then 50 meters, which was only 68 steps, which I find bizarre. So those are the figures and the times that were testified to at trial. Now, what we want to do is take account of the potential overestimation of those figures based on my experiment this morning. So basically, we've got to take off 13% of these numbers. So you can work this out if you want. I used 30%. It wasn't quite 13%, but I used 13%. So 13%, take 13% off 700 and you get 609. These are all in meters. A meter is 39 inches. I think it's 39.2 inches. I don't know why they did all these measures in meters. I've no idea. But these are what we're testified to. So take 13% off 700 and you get 609 meters. Take 13% off 414 meters and you get 360 meters. And then take 13% off 50 meters and you get 43.5 meters. Okay. So that's the extrapolation. Now, what I need to do now is plug these new measurements into Google Earth, and we'll see where that takes us. Okay, let's do that now then. All right, where's Google Earth gone? Oh, there it is. All right. All right. So I've got a lot of pins and a lot of things in this already, but you can pretty much ignore all of it because I'm going to do all the measures again. All right, so we know that it would have been approximately 148 because Kelsey's car was caught on the camera here at 149 going west. So she drove along here, brum, 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 and then stopped here and then dropped the girls off and then drove past here, and her car is caught on the Who's Your Harvester camera at 149. So we're going to say that the girls were dropped off around 148. The phone will have already done a little bit of movement. So picking it up at 131, walking to the car, that's going to add a little bit on. But we've now only got 609 meters to play with because we've taken 13% off. So we've now only got 609 meters to play with. And again, this is just an extrapolation based on my walk this morning with an iPhone 6S, which did a small overestimation. Doesn't mean to say that Libby's did an overestimation. All I'm trying to do is, work on possible issues. How can we test for inaccuracies? Well, we can't test for inaccuracies on Libby's phone. We don't have Libby's phone. So the next best thing is to use a phone that's the same model with the same version of the Apple Health app. That's the only thing we can do. And it just so happens that I had that phone. Never throw your old phones away. You never know when they're going to come in use. I've got all sorts of old phones. I still play Snake on an old Nokia. All right, so we've got 609 meters to play with. All right, well, so we're going to start at the trailhead in a minute, but I'm going to move this to 2017 because this was what this environment looked like according to Google Earth in April. So 04/17, so April. So just 2 months after the murders. And you can see better on this version because there's no leaves on the trees. So you can see the bridge very clearly here. So that's my previous track, which is a bit off. So we need to work out exactly where they were on the bridge. So I think, actually, let me just get the photo. Hold on. I'll just get the photo that we're talking about. I've got to find it though. Amongst a load of photos. We all know the photo that we're talking about though, don't we? Why can I not find it? Oh, thank you, Kylie, for the £5. Thank you so much. And Miss B has been a member for 25 months. Yeah, hit the like button. Hit. Where's my photo of Libby? When you're looking for one photo in a folder of loads of photos, I need to reorganize these in some way. Why can I not see it? So annoying. I've got all sorts of screenshots and stuff that are not making it easy for me to see it. Got it. Here we go. All right. So this photo. So it wasn't found. Oops. It wasn't found on Libby's phone. But somebody screenshotted it. You can tell that's a Snapchat. And you can see somebody screenshotted it 7 hours after it was taken. And we can only assume it was taken on the same day because Abby's wearing the same clothes. She's wearing the same shoes that her body was found in. But we can't absolutely prove it was the same day because this wasn't on Libby's phone. So I have no idea. But I'm doing this assuming that this was on the same day. And we're going to look approximately where they were on the bridge. So this is the north end and they're heading south. Right, and we've been told this was taken at 2:07. So you've got the entrance there to the bridge. You've got a platform there. What I can see down here, that's the creek. So the past, like Libby, this is where Libby is because Libby had the phone. So Libby's past the creek. I would estimate it's going to be I would say, so there's the creek, probably about there. So I'm going to put a pin there, about there. Where's my pin gone? About there, maybe. Let's measure it to there. There's the creek. See, we don't know whether Libby might have been standing further back and zoomed in. We don't know. But you can see that's the bank. So we're just a bit further on than the creek. So I think that's about right. I think that's about right. So I'm going to put Libby 2:07. We're taking a lot on faith here because we don't even know whether that photo was taken on that day. We don't even know that. All right, so we're now going to measure from the Mears Farm trailhead to that pin there. No, that pin there. All right. So let's remember, where's my PowerPoint gone? We're looking for a distance of about 609 meters, taking into account that this potentially could have been 13% overestimated. So 609 meters. Right. Okay. So we're going to that pin. We're going from here to here. And I'm going to measure it in meters. And we're going to do path. Now, this is where I've got to have a steady hand. Excuse me. So I've not got a steady hand at all. But that's okay because, you know, they're not going to have walked in an absolute straight line. It's only approximate. So we're going to go from here. And we're going to go down. Around this corner. Keep going. Oh, I'm wiggling a bit, but I'm not doing too bad. 601 meters. Boom. Boom. So remember that we're going to have some distance from Libby picking up her phone, getting in Kelsey's car. You know, she got to have left the house and got in the car. So 601 meters to approximately a third of the way across the bridge. So that's pretty darn close. So I've continued to say that that measurement makes sense. It really does make sense. Really does make sense. So up to 208. All right, so we've got that measure in. So that didn't let me save it. I wanted to save it. I have to do it again. I'll get something completely different now. But I wanted to save that, so we'll try and do it again. And each time I get something slightly different, but again, it's only an estimation. I got 603 meters that time, but that's good enough. All right, save. So we'll do Libby phone edit. I'll never know what all these mean at the end. And then that's 208. Okay. So now we get to the problematic part, the bit that breaks the timeline. But now we've got to account for 360 meters. So take 13% off 414 meters and you get 360 meters between 208 and 218. All right. So we know where they were at 214. We know exactly where they were at 214. They were right at the end of the bridge here, and you can see where the bridge ends. So this is the private drive, and you can see that the bridge ends there. You can see it in the 2017 version. And if you go down, go like this, you can see that it's a hill. Down to the private drive is about 10 feet. So from the end of the bridge, if you look at the elevation change right down at the bottom here, the elevation change is about 10 feet. So 182 meters. And then if you go down to the private drive, it goes to 179 meters approximately. So 3 meters, it's about 10 feet. So if they're standing there at 214 and BG says down the hill, they're going to go down to the private drive. To go down the whole hill, it's quite a bit steeper if you go down. From the private drive down to here, it's another drop. So that's about, where are we? 179 to 171. So that's 8 meters. So that's going to be about 20 feet. I don't know. And then it meanders down towards the creek. Like, so it's just a gradual slope down towards the creek. All right. So what we want to measure is from Libby 207 here to the end of the bridge, because we've got 360 meters to explain between 208 and 218. Right? But we know where they were at 214. They were at the end of the bridge, the south end of the bridge. So we can account for some of those meters by this walk. So we've got to go from Libby 207 to Libby video. All right. So once again, we will measure in meters. So we'll go Libby 207 along the bridge. I'm going to fall off. I nearly fell off then. All right. So that is 198 meters. Does that say? 198 meters. So I'd been doing from halfway along, like 120 meters. So we'll do that again, just to get a reasonable check. Now 208 meters. Do it 3 times. So there. It's not even measuring. It's not even measuring. Why are you not measuring? Glitches out sometimes. Okay. So from there. So 196 meters. So, all right, we're going to say, we'll say 200 meters, shall we? Best of 3. It's not quite. Because it's a straight, I've got to measure it as a straight line. Actually, I will. I'll measure it as a straight line. It's easier. Because we know they can't meander very far off this bridge, or else they're going to fall off. What was that? 192 meters. Does that say? All right, we'll call it 192. 192 meters. Okay, so we can now take, so 360 minus 192 is 168 meters. So we've now got 168 meters that are outstanding. So between 214 and 218, based on this revision, we've got an outstanding 168 meters. So it's better than 294 meters, but we still have an outstanding 168 meters based on this new assessment. So where did they go? So where did they go between? So remember, we've accounted for so we're going to say 192 208 to 214. All right. And then, what are you doing? And then we've got 168. That's a lot of meters to go from 214 to 218. It's better than 294 meters, but still 168 meters in 4 minutes. That's putting on a turn of speed. But this is what the data is telling us. Even taking into account a potential overestimation, we've got 168 meters. So where could we have got in 268 meters? So how far is it? Because I don't work in meters. 168 meters in feet. So 551 feet, or 183 yards, or how many miles? 0.1 miles. Oh, so it doesn't sound very far when you put it in. When you put it in miles, when you put it in miles, it doesn't sound very far. So 0.1 miles. All right. So where could they have gone? Where could they have gone? All right. Well. So between 214 and 218, So in 4 minutes, we've got to explain 168 meters. Now, that was my original track. So by the state's timeline, if we're taking into account 294 meters, I tried to work it out. If they had gone to the crime scene, going along here and along here and along here, that's about 260 meters. So now we've got 168 meters. We've only got 168 meters to account for now. So going this way, going down the hill, disturbed by Brad Weber, goes back down this hill, and then takes the path of least resistance. Oh, I'm on line, not path. So down here, going down the shallow part of the hill, and then taking this gradual meander along here. I'm doing this completely wrong. Crossing the creek at its shallowest part, taking a diagonal, and then up to the crime scene, 261 meters. So that's too far. That's too far now. So because we've only got 168 meters to play with. So I still think they've gone down the shallow part, and then maybe they've cut across to here. Now the bank's a bit higher there, but crossing there and up to the crime scene, 187 meters. All right, still too far. How about going in a straight line? Going an absolute straight line. Let's have a look. Nobody ever walks in a straight line in the woods, but it's going an absolute straight line. 163 meters. That's pretty close. So they'd have to go in an absolute straight line to get there. And that's pretty close. Now, the claws were found, I think they were found like here, like this tufty bit here. I think they were found there like they caught on it. I'm going to have to dig out the pictures of the claws. I do have some. They're right around here. So I thought, well, maybe they could have gone that way and that accounts for the claws. But we've no idea how or why those claws got there. But if you go in an absolute straight line, you're pretty close. 160 meters. That's pretty close. Okay. Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem for the state's theory. The problem is still the same. The problem's still the same. Because even with this extrapolation and these corrections, we still have got to the crime scene. So we've shown how we could have got to the crime scene. If we went in a straight line, we could have got to the crime scene in 168 meters. But we had to be at the crime scene by 2:18. The problem for the state's theory is that Brad Weber's van doesn't come by until at least 2:27. So why would Richard Allen say he was scared by Brad Weber's van if he was already at the crime scene? Because it's right the way over the other side of the creek. You're probably not even going to notice a van going by. This is what I don't understand. This is what I do not understand. So it doesn't matter whether we're going 294 meters or we're going 168 meters. It doesn't matter. There's still the problem of Rick Allen said that his intent was abusing the girls, molesting the girls, whatever word he used, but he was scared by the van and therefore took them down the hill across the creek and to the crime scene where he slit their throats. But you have to be over the other side of the creek by 2:18. Brad Webber doesn't come until 2:27. So really, this 168 meters should be over here. Thank you, Kindness Cakes, for $4.99. Thank you so much. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're using the figures from Libby's form or you're using a correction based on my little experiment. It doesn't matter. You've still got to explain why they did all this movement here and not here. And then we've got this 2 floors climbed, which is another issue. This is another issue. Because there's no way you go up 2 floors from the creek to the crime scene, which is another issue for the state's theory. So again, you've got to squint and you've got to go down here, elevation change. If you go in the middle of the creek, it's 168 meters. So it doesn't matter, it's 168 meters above sea level. What we're looking for is the elevation change. So if they went in a dead straight line, it means they crossed the creek about here. All right. So in the middle of the creek is 168 meters. It's flat. It's a flat bed. And then you go up. You go only up a meter. 2 meters. You go 2 meters, which is just over 6 feet. So you're not even going to go up 1 floor to that crime scene. And may I add that this pin, that I always use the crime scene coordinates that were the longitude and latitude in Ron Logan's search warrant. So I do know that the crime scene was I think I've got a picture in this somewhere of the crime scene. And the crime scene tape was, it covered quite a few yards. I think I've got a picture of it. Maybe I don't. But that's what it looked like. So the crime scene is up here, this way. This is the north side, looking across. So if you go in a dead straight line, the bridge is over here. I'm going to try and get a better picture that shows the south side of the bridge from the crime scene. But that line there is the private drive that goes up and then it goes round to the Webber's house. So if you were up here at this crime scene, if you were all the way over here, would you even notice a van going by? Like, if you're in the process of molesting 2 girls, are you even going to notice a van going by? How far is it from end of bridge to water? Maybe phone stopped registering steps if it got wet. Maybe, however, so from here to the water in a straight line, like match it up, 108 meters. Well, it obviously depends where you're, like, they had to have gone in a straight line to now that we've only got 168 meters to play with. They had to have gone in a straight line. So the bank's higher here. Like, I'd have taken them down here to go, like, you can just step in rather than climbing down. But I don't know. I'm not a murderer. So I don't know. Who have we got here? We got Alyssa, member for 22 months. Yeah, hit the like button. Hit the like button. So the 168 meters could be walking to a car. Yeah, absolutely could. Yeah. Because the problem for the states theory, the problems for the states theory, I thought I had a picture of the crime scene in this presentation, but obviously I don't. I'm sure I did, but there's several problems. There's a problem here that this 168 meters comes too soon. 168 meters should have come after Brad Webber's van drove by. Thank you, Kylie, for gifting a membership. Thank you so much. And we've got K-Crime. Hello, K-Crime. And welcome. Get a monthly membership courtesy of Kylie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The 360 meters is the distance to the attempted R. Then add 50 plus 2 flights to cross the creek to find the crime scene. But no, though. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we've got 168 meters. So they walk 268 meters. No, sorry, 168 meters between 2:14 and 2:18. Thank you, Kylie, for the £2. Thank you so much. And then they stop for 7 minutes. And then it's during this portion here that Brad Webber turns up. So the 168 meters should have been over here. The stopping for 7 minutes makes sense if that's the time when he was getting them to undress. But they're still over on the south side until Brad Webber comes home. This is obviously according to the state's theory. It doesn't work. The 168 meters should be over here. It's 168 meters that's the problem. The second problem is that if they went over here, right, at this point, like let's just say they ran around for 168 meters on the south side, then he tried to oar them, and then they went over the creek after Brad Webber scared them. There's no way you can get from here to here in 50 meters. So could you have gone? You have to then start just guessing where they might have gone. So did they go up here, 109 meters? Did they go? I don't know. Like let's try and do 168 meters. All right. So we got 160 meters there. So if you went a winding path to the creek and then he saw the van, but if once you're down the hill, because his confession said it was the van that made him take the girls down the hill. So they had to still be here on the private drive or around the private drive, but at 2:27. But then there's no way they can get over to the crime scene in just 50 meters. It doesn't work. Thank you, Al, for $5. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. It doesn't work. All right, at 43.5 meters, actually, taking off the 13% error. We've already got 43.5 meters to play with. And then we've got these 2 floors climbed, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So from the creek here, this creek bed is flat. It's consistent, 168 meters. Oh, it went 167 there, but 168 meters, it's flat. And then to go up to the crime scene, it only goes up 2 meters, which is about 6 feet. It's not even 1 floor. Thank you, Mike, for the $10. Thank you so much. It's not even 1 floor. Now, if I go back to this morning's experiment I didn't talk about it, but the Apple Health app also records floors. So one floor is about 10 feet of elevation. It doesn't record going down hills. This is what a lot of people are getting wrong. I'm listening to people talking about this, and it was like, oh, that those 2 floors that Libby's phone recorded was going down the hill. No. If you've got an iPhone, test it yourself. Walk up and down a hill, or walk up and down your stairs. Now, I've only got 13 stairs, so sometimes my phone doesn't even register when I go upstairs. It doesn't even record it. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think if I go up slowly, it does, but if I run up, it doesn't. It's only 14 steps, 13 steps. But this morning, my iPhone 6S reported 3 floors. I've not got it on this because the more recent iterations of the Apple Health app does stairs. I think it's further down here. I've just not put it on the screenshots because I wasn't counting that. But they all recorded 3 floors. They all recorded 3 floors. And that makes sense because I went up a small hill and then I can even show you on the Strava. So along here, down here, then I went up here. Now this is a hill, but this has got a short side, and then if you go up the hill here, it's like longer. All right, so if you go up the hill here, it records 1 floor. So then I went round here, round there a couple of times, and then I went through the woods and then back up the other side of the hill, and it recorded 2 floors because it's like higher, like somehow, because the ground goes down there. So the ground's higher there, so you've only got 1 floor to climb to go up the hill. But if you approach the hill from this side, it's a steeper incline and it's longer, and it registers it as 2 floors. I haven't measured how high it is, but it registers it as 2 floors. So that makes sense. 3 floors. So we can assume that Libby's phone recorded 2 floors for a reason, because she climbed 20 feet. But how could she climb 20 feet going from the south side of the bridge to the crime scene? Because by the time you get to the creek, it's all downhill. And then by the time you get to the creek and you go up to the crime scene, it's only like 6 foot from the creek. And then what you see is, so if you go to the crime scene here, it's 170, and then 171, it's pretty flat it starts to rise here, and that's the hill that you see going up to Ron Logan's. So if you look at it like this, you can see that's the hill going up to Ron Logan's. So it's flat, virtually flat. It's only like a small incline until you get to here, and then it starts to go steep. So 172, 73, 74, 75, 76, 82, 83, 84. It's about 50 foot. So from the bottom here to kind of the top here where the road is, it's about 50 foot. So that's quite steep. But from the creek to this foot of this hill, it's just a gradual incline. There's no way that you could go from the creek at this location and climb 20 feet. I don't get it. So that's a massive problem for the states theory. So in my opinion, the states theory has got 3 problems. Oops. The states theory's got 3 problems. It has to explain this, why there were so many meters accrued before 218, and then why there were so few meters accrued after Brad Weber was supposed to have scared them away, And then number 3 is why we've got this phone registering 2 floors. Doesn't make sense. So even with a correction, like for potential error, even taking 13% off, we still have those problems. Those 3 problems do not go away when you correct for potential errors in the Apple Health app. So I'll refer you back to my alternate theory, which is this. This theory, in my opinion, makes more sense. So this figure, it's two. These figures are the same. I can change these now based on my updated figures. So we've got 609, which takes us from the trailhead at Mears Farm to about a third of the way across the bridge. And then that's 192 from a third of the way across the bridge to the end of the bridge. And then we've got 168 meters to play with. 168 meters would take you down the private drive, up the private drive to a vehicle that was parked there. The phone then doesn't move for 7 minutes because it's in a vehicle. And then the 43.5 meters is then walking from the vehicle to a building. And then the phone registers 2 floors climbed because they go up 2 floors. Now, a ladder in a barn, because, you know, barns, don't know what barns are like there, but barns tend to be quite high, don't they? And if you climb a ladder up to like a second floor of a barn, that could be 20 feet, nearly 20 feet. That would register as 2 floors. It would register as 2 floors if they took them up into an attic. Like if I come up my stairs here and then I get my ladder to go up into my attic, that would be 2 floors. That makes more sense than trying to explain those figures based on the state's theory. That makes more sense. That explains everything. That explains everything. And then bringing them back, you turn the phone off and it doesn't register anything. It doesn't register anything. If you turn a phone off, completely off, not on airplane mode, but completely off, it won't record anything. And then you turn the phone back on at 4:33 a.m. and hey presto, all those messages come through because it reconnects with the tower. I don't know. And listen, I'm not wedded to any one theory. If I can find evidence to suggest Richard Allen's guilty, I'll tell you. I'll absolutely tell you. Thank you, Like the Way, for the £5. That's very kind of you. If I could have found, you know, based on his confession, if everything worked, if all of this worked out, I would tell you. I would say, look, we've got Richard Allen's confession. We've got Brad Webber now saying he came home at 2:27. And we've got this data from Libby's phone. And if the data from Libby's phone matched the confession, I would say so. I'd say, look, that's evidence to suggest that Rick Allen's confession, well, yeah, there's a lot of weight to it. But the problems with it are we've got 168 meters, taking into account the correction, 168 meters that should have come here. Then we've got 43 meters that should have been closer to 168 meters. And then we've got these 2 floors climbed that doesn't make sense based on the terrain. So the easier theory to go with that explains everything is this one. Now, there might be other ways you can explain it. What am I doing? I don't want to format. There may be other ways to explain it that you know, you've got to explain each data point. If you explain each data point then your theory is just as good as mine. You might have a different theory, but you explain each data point. This particular theory, in my opinion, explains each data point. But it's probably not the only theory that explains each data point. And the states theory doesn't work, given the data we have. Was there evidence the phone was turned off? No, because they cocked up the data extraction from Libby's phone. Because they kept turning it on and off, what they did was they wiped that part of the knowledge C database. So if they'd have extracted the entire phone, like originally, if they'd have done it properly originally, they would have had the on-off data. But the knowledge C database, where the on-off and whether you've put in an airplane mode, whether you've turned it off, that kind of thing, overwrites every time you turn your phone off. It overwrites it when you turn it back on again. So no, we've got no evidence that the phone was on or off. We don't have that because they cocked up the data extraction in the early days, and they've basically wiped the knowledge C database of that data. So we could only assume that the phone might have been turned off. We don't know. We don't know. Now, where could you go in 7 minutes? How far can you drive in 7 minutes? Well, you could drive 3 miles in 7 minutes. Going at an average speed of 25 miles an hour, you can drive 3 miles in 7 minutes. What does 3 miles look like? Well, here's one I prepared earlier. This big ring, the big ring, that's a 3 mile radius. Just saying. So an average driving speed of 25 miles an hour. Now, out on these country roads, you could probably go faster than that. But you've got all this, you know, fields, very sparsely populated areas where there's lots of barns and stuff. You've gone anywhere in here. And it goes right the way over to the other side of Delphi. So in downtown Delphi, you've covered pretty much all of it. All of it is within a 3 mile radius. And the center point of the radius was the south side of the bridge. So I basically just fanned out a 3 mile radius of the south side of the bridge. That's what it looks like. So that's how far you could have got in 7 minutes. Now, look, I'm not saying that they necessarily had to drive for the whole 7 minutes. All we're saying is that phone didn't move for 7 minutes. So they could have been stationary in a vehicle for 3 of those minutes. The phone wouldn't move, and then you drive for 4 minutes. All I'm saying it's a maximum of, based on a 25 mile an hour average. But you might drive slower, you might drive faster. Obviously, if you drive slower, your radius reduces. If you drive faster, your radius increases. You know, we do not have any more data than this. We do not have any more useful data than this, because they cocked up the data extraction. What we needed to know is, was that phone turned off and turned on again? We don't know. That data was wiped due to errors early on in the investigation. Instead of just giving the phone to the FBI and just letting the FBI experts do it, No, they tried to do it themselves in-house, and they cocked it up. And they had to keep turning it on and turning it off. And every time you turn it on and turn it off, you lose more data. So we're now having to speculate that the phone might have been turned off, and that's why it didn't record any steps. But we don't know, and we can never prove it. Either way, we can never prove it. But I'm just saying, you know, that this theory fits all the data points. The states theory doesn't. The states theory has a problem with this. It has a problem here, and it has a problem here. That's all I'm saying. So that's where I'm at. But I am going to carry on walking about with that iPhone 6S that I've got. And I'm going to see, like, over maybe 10 walks, whether it consistently overestimates based on Strava. Now, Strava itself is only as accurate as the GPS, the phone. You see, it's using the GPS on my phone. So it's only as good as the GPS on the phone. Like, I even asked Google which is more accurate, Apple Health app or Strava. And there's various bones of contention for both. I think the majority of people who are, you know, really into fitness say that the Apple Watch is the most accurate. Now, obviously, Libby didn't have an Apple Watch. I've got an Apple Watch somewhere in my house and I cannot find it. I haven't seen my Apple Watch since 2020. But it's in the house somewhere. I cannot find it. I think it's got thrown away by accident. But the consensus amongst fitness people is that use an Apple Watch, which has its own little GPS tracker, and that's more accurate than Strava on your phone. But then some people swear by Strava. Some people swear by other apps. Some people use Garmin and think that's better. So every way that you use to measure distance is going to have a certain amount of error in it anyway. So my 13%, you know, when I said it was inaccurate by 13%, I use Strava as my base, you know, the basis of measuring that inaccuracy from. But Strava itself may have had a small inaccuracy. So we've all, you know, every measure, every level, we've always got to have a certain amount of error that we have to just accept. But I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the very best I can based on the data we have from the trial, but also the data that I can collect, you know, 4,000 miles away. But I'm doing the best I can. So that's what I've got to show you. It's created a lot of questions, but it still shows that even accounting for potential inaccuracy in Libby's phone data, it still means that the states theory has problems, and that there are other theories that can explain each data point better. Humour me, try hoisting the phone up 2 stories in a tree or ladder or something. See if it registers 2-story incline. You know absolutely that I'm going to do that now, Robin. So I'm going to, tomorrow morning, I'm going to have to take a rope out with me, and I'm going to have to hoist my iPhone 6S up into a tree. I may even video myself doing it. I don't even know if I've got a rope that's... I don't even know. I don't think I've even got a rope that's long enough. Leave it with me. Leave it with me. Leave it with me. Oh dear me, leave it with me. I'll video myself doing it. If I can do it, I'll video it. Have you heard about the geofencing showing 3 phones? Oh yes. I absolutely have. It's even in this presentation here. They banned the geofencing. They banned the geofencing. But yeah, there was 3 phones that registered close to the crime scene throughout that afternoon. But that was banned from the trial. One of them was Ron Logan's. Oh, there's the crime scene picture that I was looking for. You can see that it's, you know, they roped off quite a few yards, but you can see it's a gentle incline up into this hill, and then this hill takes you up to Ron Logan's house. Like, Ron Logan's house is over here. So Ron Logan's house would have been within the geofence. So one of the phones was Ron Logan's, but he was at home. Even though he said he wasn't, he was at home. So his would have registered, but there was 2 other phones. I think the thing that is the issue was one of those phones Rick Allen's? Now, obviously it wasn't, because Nick McClellan wouldn't have wanted it banned, would he? If they'd have found Rick Allen's phone inside the geofence, then he wouldn't have wanted the geofencing data banned from the trial. So there's that. But I am going to see whether climbing a tree with a phone or hoisting a phone up into a tree actually registers flaws. It might. I've been trying to find out how the Apple Health app registers an incline, and it's to do with the steps, but also to do with the barometric pressure. The barometric pressure changes. So I don't know, like, whether hoisting a phone up into a tree would register at all as a flaw. Don't know. I mean, Apple's quite secretive about their software anyway. You know, you have to you have to try and work it out, and then people say different things. But anyway, that's as good as I've got so far. So I shall continue my investigation, and let's see if hoisting a phone 2 floors works. Whether that registers as a floor or 2 floors. Stardust Shorty, member for 24 months. Look at you go. You've got your OG badge. Whoop, whoop. You agree with the jury, and that's it. It's over. Well, the problem is, a guilty verdict doesn't solve all the issues with the investigation. And the state's theory, based on Rick's confession, that surely the jury gave a lot of weight to, doesn't fit the data that we've got. Does that mean Rick's innocent? No. Because of the terrible, terrible investigation, probably missed out a load of stuff that would have helped us. But what we can say is, based on the evidence presented at the trial, the state's theory has got 3 holes in it based on the phone data alone. And then it's got more problems based on Brad Weber, because Brad Weber either lied in 2017, where he said he got home at 3:30, or he's lying at the trial. He's lied on oath, saying he got home at 2:30. Which is it? So that's another problem. The other problem, so we're up to 5 problems now. Problem number 5 is Rick says he wasn't there at all, that he'd gone by 1:45, 1:30 to 1:45, he said. But because Dan Dullard didn't record Rick's interview in 2017, we don't know whether Rick lied in 2022. We can only take into account what Rick said in 2022. And he said he left between 1:30 and 1:45. So that's another problem. Did Libby's ankles have rope marks? No. I have actually seen one of the crime scene photos now, because some absolute clown, complete clown, put them on Twitter. Put a picture of Libby and a picture of Abby from the crime scene on Twitter. So I hadn't seen the crime scene photos up to that point. But some idiot put them on. And, you know, when that leak came out from Mitch Westerman, I didn't ask anybody who I knew had the crime scene photos. I didn't ask anybody, could they send them to me? And no one sent them to me unsolicited. So I hadn't seen them up until some idiot put them on Twitter. So I've seen one photo of Libby and I've seen one photo of Abby. And in both photos, you can see Libby's legs and there's no apparent rope marks on her ankles. And those tree branches are bizarre. The tree branches are more bizarre. Seeing them in real, you know, on a real photo versus a depiction, like a diagram, they're even more bizarre. Like the way that they're laid, they were laid in a very precise way. And they were laid in the same way for Abby and for Libby. I need to find a way to show what those sticks look like in real life without showing the girls. And I'm not worked out how to do that yet. No twigs, no foliage attached. No, they were very specifically laid as well. Very specific sizes, specifically laid. And I think both of them, if you're going to go with the runes theory, both of them are representing Hegel. One of them from the younger Futhark and one of them from the elder Futhark. I don't even know if I'm saying Futhark right. What Hegel means hail. That's if you're going with the runes theory. But certainly, 100%, they were not laid on there to conceal those bodies. No way in the world. The other thing that I was able to assess was potential drag marks, and there's none. So how Rick Allen, on his own, managed to drag Libby from where she died to the place where she was found without leaving any drag marks whatsoever on the wood floor, like given the way that the, you know, it's very loose, like lots of leaves and small twigs and stuff. There's absolutely no drag marks whatsoever. It's bizarre. And Abby has nothing on her. Now, obviously, there might be blood on her shirt that you can't see, blood underneath that you can't see. But yeah, Abby looks like she's sleeping. Libby's is horrendous. Libby's is absolutely horrific. Abby looks like she's sleeping. I mean, she looks like she's tucked up. Like she's got her arms like tucked into her hoodie, like Libby's hoodie, like tucked up, like she's asleep. It's like somebody laid Abby out to make her comfortable. Yeah, Libby, who's just a few feet away from her, it's horrendous. Like shocking, really shocking. And you can't see the full injuries because there's a stick, a big branch laid right the way across Libby's throat. So some of the wounds you can't see because of the branch. But what you can see is horrendous. Horrendous. Absolutely horrific. Horrific. That the person who did those injuries to Libby would have hit both of her carotid arteries and the blood would have been pumping out, and the vertical wounds as well. So it's not like you could be behind her and slit her throat. It was from the front, like stab and then basically pulling to make vertical wounds. And you would have been covered, absolutely covered in blood. Covered in blood. Putting thoughts into the lines on Abby's mouth and her not... Oh, it's gone. Hold on. Let me try and find it again. Lines on Abby's mouth and her not fighting back with blood on her hands. She may have been choked unconscious before her throat was done. Maybe, potentially, yeah. You may have seen... You see, the thing is, we haven't seen the autopsy reports. So we don't know whether her hyoid bone was broken. Like, to choke somebody out, generally speaking, breaks the hyoid bone. But you could suffocate somebody without strangling them, can't you? It's just bizarre. The entire scene is bizarre. Bizarre. Given that the two girls are within a few feet of each other, like their feet are closer to each other than the heads are. They've been placed in like a V shape. So the feet aren't touching, but they're close to each other. And then you've got on one hand, you've got Abby, who looks like she's sleeping. And then on the other hand, you've got Libby, who it's just like a scene from a horror show. And yet neither of them have any defensive wounds. That was the other bizarre thing. Neither of them have any defensive wounds. How is that possible? When you've got one person subduing two girls and there's no defensive wounds, because you defend yourself without even trying. It's not like somebody who makes a conscious decision to put up a fight. You know, you naturally defend yourself against a knife attack by putting your hands up. And there's nothing. It's weird. Absolutely so weird. One of the weirdest crime scenes I've ever seen. And that's why they needed as many of the, you know, the FBI behavioral profiler people, as many as they could get. And yet the FBI were told to get lost. The FBI weren't welcome. Yeah, one of them looked like she was sleeping, the other one naked and humiliated and just horrific, absolutely horrific. I can't describe how bad her neck was. And again, I can't see the whole of it because of one of the branches. Abby's blood is missing from the crime scene. We don't know, honestly, how much blood seeped into the hoodie because it's a black hoodie. It could have been that she bled out slowly and the majority of it is on the hoodie. So it's like soaked into the hoodie. So we don't know. We don't know. But certainly you would expect to have seen more blood on Abby than is apparent. I need to find a way to show you those sticks, though, without showing the girls, because I do not want to show the crime scene photos. I don't want to spread them any further than they've been. They're easy to find now because of the clown who put them on Twitter. They're very easy to find if you really want to find them. And it is only one photo of Abby and one photo of Libby. Obviously, there were many more photos that have never been leaked. But the sticks, I want to be able to show the sticks and just the sticks without the bodies. Show the actual sticks, because a depiction of them, any drawing of them, doesn't quite show you how carefully laid they were, and that they were both laid in the same pattern for both girls. The spatter expert said Libby's blood was still congealing, which is another problem. It's another problem. You shouldn't be having fresh blood at a scene that's nearly 24 hours old. True Crime Design has it on a community page as a drawing. Yeah, but the drawings don't do it justice. I mean, her drawings are as accurate as you could get without showing the actual bodies. But even the drawings don't do those sticks justice. So anyway, I'm gonna think about that. Think about how I can do it. Like, could I cut out the sticks and just show the sticks? Could I black out the bodies? I think that might be the easiest way. Like, completely black out the bodies and just leave the sticks in situ. I could do that. I think that would work. Right, leave that with me. Leave that with me. Because there's no way, if that was my kid, there's no way in the world I would be furious. Doesn't even come close to how angry I would be if somebody was distributing crime scene photos of my kid on the internet. I mean, it's horrendous. It's horrific. So there's no way in the world I would ever share those crime scene photos. But I think blacking out the bodies just to show the sticks and the position of those sticks, I think that might work. Because it's just bizarre. It's bizarre. Have I seen the crime scene pics? Yeah. I've seen one of Abby and one of Libby. Because some clown put them on Twitter without any warnings whatsoever. So I was just scrolling down Twitter, looking at one of the Delphi trial hashtags, and there they were. No warning, nothing. There they were. He took them down and he re-uploaded them with, I think he put like a sensitivity warning or something on because so many people complained. Maybe change photo to the sketch outline you use and then black out girls. Then it wouldn't look real. Yeah, I think blacking out the bodies and then putting a filter on that would highlight the sticks. I think that'll work. When he reloaded them, the story they were attached to is interesting. Oh, I didn't see. Libby was killed while she ran and escaped. Abby was killed after. I don't think so. No, not based on the wounds, because the wounds are like vertical. Like if you were running and someone caught up with you, there'd be more injuries than just on the throat. Because it's not like they were beaten or anything. It's just the focus on the throat. And it's not like slash marks. It's vertical. Like someone's stabbed and then pulled down kind of thing. It's not like someone slashing. Like if you slash someone's throat, you slash it across. But it's not. They're very specific, vertical. Very strange. And again, I can't see everything because of one of the sticks is in the way. But she would have been unconscious very quickly, and that blood would have been pumping out. Whoever inflicted those wounds would have been covered in blood. No doubt about it. Are the tree limbs sawed? One of them is. The biggest one is. The others, no. Not that I could see. They don't look sawed. I mean, they could be, and you know, if you got really close to them, maybe you could see they were sawed, but I think one of them's sawed. I mean, look, it's somebody killing 2 teenagers on the off chance, you know, because they panicked, and then spent that amount of time laying out that scene. That doesn't make sense at all. The state's theory does not make sense at all when you take that into account. So that's problem number 6 for the state's theory. Which girl had all the blood pooled under her upper body area? Libby. Libby died. I've got it on here. So this is from Lawyer Lee. So based on the blood spatter expert, Libby was attacked here. She managed to stagger like a few feet to here where there was a large amount of blood pooling, and then her body was taken here. So you're looking at being dragged or carried a few feet, and then like closer to where Abby was. So Libby was actually mobile for a few feet, and then she fell, and that would be the area where she died. That's where all the blood like really pooled, and then she was laid out like a few feet away. So I don't know. Anyway, I am going to go, and I will continue the investigation. So hopefully kind of this stuff is useful to you. It's certainly food for thought. All of it is food for thought. And the jury, I mean, so much was left out of the trial. You know, I don't think the jury, I honestly don't think the jury, where the hell's StreamYard gone? I can't even find StreamYard now. Where am I? There I am. Got so many windows open there. So much was left out of the trial. I don't think the jury got anywhere close to being able to understand just how bizarre this crime was. Everything that would have shown how bizarre it was left out, was not allowed. And that is a massive travesty for justice. Massive. Anyway, I'm going to go now. So thank you all. Thank you all for joining me. Kyle and all the dogs are running upstairs, like running wild for some reason. I've no idea. All right. So thank you all for joining me. Thanks, mods, as always. Thanks to those that donated earlier in the stream. Welcome to the new members, and enjoy the rest of your day. I shall see you soon. Bye, guys.